Carl, Brendan, and Dan here from Games, Brains, and a Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for sure. And it's reaction time, as we're checking out the latest song by Fury, the UK metal band. Rock Lives in My Soul. This song, so as of the time of recording, I listened to it and wrote the single review for the Single Slam this week. And I was intrigued by the comments before I even watched the video. I was like, what's someone talking about? What's someone talking about? I know Fury through the association with the Kisses and stuff like that, and the touring together, and I like Fury a lot. But, you know, I've always kind of seen them as a very straightforward heavy metal band. And everyone's kind of talking about, wow, what a powerful message and what a way to get it across and stuff like that. I was like, what are you talking about and stuff like that? And then I watched it and I understood, and fucking hell, it's a great song. Great heavy metal song with a phenomenal guest vocalist as well. So look out for that. Kim Jennett, who does wonderfully here. But basically, this track, lyrically, is written from the perspective of how women are treated in rock and metal. And you will see as the video goes on, they are using quotes from people in the industry. Women in the industry will pop up on your screen. So make sure you watch the video to get the full, as we're about to do, to get the full message on this. And we all know this. We are three dudes sitting here right now. We are very much aware that, for example, the term female-fronted metal, it's something I think me and Brendan have talked about in the past in the videos, where it's just like, well, pointless exercise that is, but it's something that has existed for a long time. And so this video, I feel, is something everyone particularly can get behind. Put it this way, if you're offended or annoyed by this video, you're probably the problem. It's that kind of thing, you know?
Please don't be offended. Please don't be offended.
Yeah. Unless you don't like the song itself, then it's fine. You know, I do think it's important as well. Message is great, but hey, if the song is wank, then the song's wank, right? It's as simple as that, you know?
Yeah.
You know, there are many great rap artists, grime artists, pop artists who do wonderful messages. And I'm like, but I hate the song. I hate the song, you know?
I mean, Backstreet Boys, very importantly, told us they were back.
Yes,
you know,
that's true.
But the song was shit, so we didn't care.
That is true. Is the song shit, though?
Oh, it is shit. And also, 5, they made us get down. But that was still shit, so we also didn't care.
And no, it wasn't Blue that did Blue Dabba Dee Da Da. Who did that?
As Eiffel 65, wasn't it?
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. We'll move on.
They told us about people that lived, everything was blue.
He told us Blue Dabba Dee Dee Da.
Yeah, it was that, basically.
What's his name? Told us all about the days of the week and what he was going to be doing with
Craig
girls.
David.
Craig David.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to meet her on Wednesday, and then he's going to take her for a drink on Thursday.
And
very important message, but the song was shit.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
all right, let's
moving
do
on.
this. 3, 2, 1, go. Good old heavy metal.
You've only got more fans than me, 'cause of your femininity. What the hell are you trying to say? They just like you for your pretty face and not your rock and roll. I'll take you seriously, 'cause of your masculinity. What difference does that make? Not at all, but we do the same and stuff, but you don't know. We love, you don't know how it burns to be judged on love so low. When rock lives in my soul, we love, I don't know how it burns to be judged on love so low. When rock lives in my soul.
Who says this shit?
All right. Before I don't want to hear your opinions on the message just yet. Let's just talk about the music specifically, the song. Let's kind of get that part of the way, and we can then have the bigger discussion. So I'll just get started. I think it's straightforward, head-banging, heavy metal fun with punky ass lyrics. The dueling fight they kind of basically have, almost like an argument. While also coming in together at certain times to harmonize in the vocals, I thought was great fun. I think she sounds fantastic. Arguably, well, way better than he does, to be fair. I think his vocals are good. She's stunning. Like, it's the level between the two, but they work off so well against each other. I think it's spectacular. Massive shout out to that solo. It sounds great. It's old school. It's fun and all that. Some great bass work. That's that bass player is Becky Baldwin, who is probably one of the UK's best bass players, you know. It's well worth noting as well. It's just a great, to me, just a great heavy metal track, musically.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it musically. It's great. They seem like they'd be very, very fun to see live. Like very jumpy and excitable.
I would have got to see them live had the pandemic not happened. I was going to see the Keesis on their album tour with Fury as well. Never, but then pandemic happened.
Everything.
It's quite difficult, right? So yeah, obviously I like the song. Yeah, the song's fine. It's got a lot of good stuff going on in it. It's quite old school, quite 80s in style. It's almost like gives me that sort of like I don't know, like the sort of Doro sort of style music, you know.
Good
which
call,
is which is it's not a bad thing at all. Like, you know, it's good music. Guitars are great, drums are great, bass is great, vocals are great. It's hard to say whether or not I'd like Fury outside of this song though, because like such a large part of this song is obviously not just Fury.
Of course.
You know, so it's difficult to imagine a Fury song without the additional vocals. You know, I don't know anything else by Fury other than this track now. You know, so that's the issue for me. I thought the guy's vocals were fine. There was one kind of raw or something like that at the end, which made me chuckle because I thought it just sounded really weak.
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, but that was one. The rest of it I thought was great. Lots of great guitars, lots of great drum beats. You know, the bass is strong. It's got great upbeat tempo. You know, that's definitely fun. But it's just difficult to judge outside of this song on whether or not I think I'd enjoy a Fury gig, because I don't know what they'd be like. You know, like as just the 4-piece sort of doing their own stuff.
Yeah, it should be noted, as you said at the start, Kim Jennett isn't obviously is a guest vocalist here. So yeah, I completely understand that. Okay, well, I mean, well, actually, it's the question I was thinking during it. So I'll ask, and it's for everyone. What was your first proper memorable experience of a woman in a band? Where you realized it was more than just like, I guess where you realized it was more than just a whole, oh, she's supposed to look pretty on the front of the stage kind of thing, you know?
I mean, my first experience was probably my first ever show, and I probably saw the best and the worst of it in one show, which was obviously the first gig I went to was Cradle of Filth. You know, and yeah, although I don't think she was a permanent member of the band at that time, they had the female backing vocalist alongside them for the whole show, you know, doing like Bathory Araya and stuff like that. And that was my first time watching it. But at the same time, at that same show, they had 2 cages partly suspended from the ceiling with 2 ladies in leather underwear writhing for that whole kind of vampiric sex appeal thing, which I guess was what they were trying to aim for. So it wasn't necessarily done to take advantage more of it as part of the image. I don't know, like, but so I guess you're kind of seeing the both angles of it.
Yeah.
You know, in what was it wasn't fully, but was a, you know, the one thing I guess about a Cradle shows is that Cradle have as many female fans as they do male fans. So, you know, it wasn't like actually like a loaded with male fans staring up at the ladies. It was probably quite equally balanced, you know. So I don't know. It's difficult now. Like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't know if that was them taking advantage of the sex appeal of the ladies, or if that was just part of the Cradle thing. Like, you know what I mean? It was about the vampires and the sex appeal about the vampires in it more than anything else. But you know, that was the first time. I mean, I guess it's a credit, and I'd imagine all 3 of us would feel the same about this. But and I didn't mean it in like a rude way. But when I see some of those comments come up, like on that video, you know, some of the, I guess, possibly, I don't know, maybe social media posts or tweets or things like that. And I guess maybe I am part of the problem to a degree because I'm oblivious to it. Yeah. And I don't really think about it, but I don't think about it because I don't think about the fact that the females in the band and the males in the band, and that's a thing. It just doesn't really enter my head. And I guess that's a good thing. But then at the same time, it's probably part of the problem, because if I'm not aware of it going on, then I'm also not part of the solution, are you? You know, and that's the difficulty thing.
Well, it's difficult because here's the thing, right? Is we can't talk from an industry perspective. We are not insiders. We are a small-time website that just happens to write reviews. We have the pleasure of talking with X amount of press outlets and a wide range of people, human beings and stuff like that. I've never worked with a band. I've never been part of a gig. I've never dealt with, I mean, we deal with managers all the time, and it's women, men and stuff like that. So like that perspective, I completely understand what you're saying. I see those comments flash up and I'm thinking, I know this exists. Of course I know this exists, but it still feels so strange. It's almost like, nah, come on, man, that shit's not bad. From a fan perspective, I completely understand it more. And I could point at examples in modern times where I'm seeing stuff And God, I almost don't even want to say one in particular because I don't want to throw accusations out there. Well, I see it and think, yeah, this is because of this particular. And you've gone, well, that's a woman and I'm now insanely attracted to her and I'm going to do everything in every aspect to try and make it seem like I'm like white knighting. White knighting is the word I would use now. And it's that thing. I've got to protect her because she's a woman fronting a band. That bollocks. You know, that aspect and things like that. And I see that's where it kind of resonates with me so much. But then we're not going to sit here and act like we're whiter than white. We're holding them down in that aspect. And look at us, we're woke and stuff like that kind of thing. And we completely get it. But it is the truth when I can honestly say for myself, and I know for Brendan, and I know for Dan, that we sit here and we don't look at a female-fronted band, woman at the front, or full women bands, or 3, 4, and so on, and go, oh my God, that's so weird. That's so weird. They're only up there because they're pretty. That is insane. And this comes from my youth because I grew up, right? And I didn't grow up, women in bands were not that regular when I was growing up. But there were some that broke the mold. I think of Cold Chamber. But I also remember people constantly saying, oh, love to bang Rainer, love to bang Rainer, and stuff like that. That's what you heard. Then there was Kitty. Yep. Kitty was all women in that band. And that was my first proper experience of hearing a woman roar and scream and give guttural vocals and things like that. And that blew me away as a teenager. But the same shit was back there and all that. Later on, people like Angela Gosso of Arch Enemy back in the day and things like that. But then I was a lot older and it was a lot less strange. Yeah. But it still is this stigma, I think, where it's like, and it's less so because I think when people look at the likes of, say, Venom Prison or Ginger, no one's going, oh my God, can you believe a woman sings like that? It's become a little bit more normalized and things like that. You know, it's one of those where it's like, we're men. We will never, ever be able to fully understand this. You know?
No, we never will be. But also, like, I mean, you know, I guess it's more about intent sometimes. Because even more recently, like Dan put forward Svalbard a couple of times, the reactions that we listened to.
Yeah.
And I remember exclaiming that I was surprised that it was a female vocalist.
Yep.
But, you know, but I guess it's intent, isn't it? I'm not surprised as in that now taints my view. I was just like, oh, okay, cool. She's got an amazing range. Carry on, isn't it? It's about intent sometimes.
Oh, intent's important, yeah. Yeah.
You know, I don't look at women as a lesser species. And I do use the term female fronted sometimes, but I do it to describe a band when I'm writing a review because I don't see the fact that she's female as important, but I put the makeup of the band. I also say that the guitarist is male. I don't just go, oh, the band are normal and the singers are female. You know, it's not the intent.
Yeah.
You know, it goes, you know, like one of my favorite bands, obviously, Ifanima. You know, there's 2 males, 2 females. Whenever I write up a review for them, I always point out that the bassist is female and the singer is female, and the other one's like one of their boyfriends. And do you know what I mean? Like, you're doing the makeup of the band. But then you start thinking, don't you? You start thinking, like, you know, if I use the term at all, you know, is that actually adding to the problem? And, you know, it's difficult. It's difficult because we don't have those thoughts. And that's a credit to us that we don't think of it that way, that we don't go, you know, like there's no thing in the world would stop me listening to music because there's a female in the band. The only thing that would stop me listening to it is if the song's shit.
That's insane because you grew up on a fucking you one of your biggest influences on me growing up was Nightwish. I mean, good God, you're talking about.
I mean, we spoke about it before, but actually, the person or the band that I listened to, which was through older sister Tracy, that was the one that kind of got me more towards the rock stuff. Was Lita Ford. That was probably my first experience of not metal, but, you know, the more rocked up kind of sound. And I went from Lita Ford into Skid Row, and I'm pretty sure for the first 5 years of my life, I thought Sebastian Bach was a female anyway. You know, I used to think she was gorgeous. No, turn out it was a geezer. But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I laughed when those comments came up, and I didn't genuinely mean it in a horrible way because it just shocks me that people say that shit. It shocks me because it doesn't enter our heads, which is a credit to us. But I don't know. Maybe I'm too oblivious.
The insanity of idea that someone at some point has said to a female artist in a band, "Hey, if you showed your tits, you'd be headlining Download," and you're like, "That did not happen." Like that's what you almost want to sort of say. That did not happen. Even though someone's directly telling you, yes, it did, you're just like, it couldn't have happened. Like, that's so fucking stupid. Did you punch him? Did you punch him? Because he probably, you know.
I haven't said anything so far because I wanted to hear what you guys had to say.
Yeah, no. I'm gonna let you come in obviously in a second. I just wanted to add one final thing. Sebastian Bach is still fucking gorgeous. Go on, Dan.
There's a lot to unpack.
Of course.
Yes, because I don't know. You said you don't work in the music industry. I feel that I very much do with the work I do. I work in and around bands and with bands. It's what I do for work. And I work with lots of different female graphic designers who are in the same field as me. And you'd be surprised at the amount of shit they get. Like, people treat them differently. One of my best friends, her name is Cheyenne. She constantly gets haggled, like, for prices, way more than any of us.
Yeah.
And you'd honestly be surprised the amount of shit people come out with. The whole, if you showed your tits, you'd be headlining Download. I can guarantee someone definitely did say that.
Oh, of course they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just still just so like, wow. You know?
It's like, it is, and it just makes me furious to see people still in this day and age and in this community that we all have, that people still think it's okay to think and act like this.
Well, yeah, but here's what they're doing it then. This is what it goes down like. It goes, I'm not talking as a woman, I'm talking about how I perceive it would be.
You're definitely not talking as a woman.
No. less so now that I've cut the hair's gone as well.
Yeah.
If you were to perceive it, or perhaps you got a comment, like a stupid comment about like, wear more makeup or something like that, and you turn around and say, don't fucking say that to me. Oh, just banter, just bants. Come on, man, just bants. You know, what are you getting pissy for? It's only a joke. That kind of thing, which then puts you back on the back foot, and you're like, oh, am I taking offense unnecessarily? You know what I mean? Like, it seems so obvious. It seems so fucking obvious, and it's just so simple, which is basically, dudes, guys, stop being dickheads. It's as simple as that, right? It really should be, but it
should be, but it is. I wish it was, but because the problem is, and I might be wrong on this, and this is probably me like putting my head on a spike here, right? But I don't see. I mean, it is, but it's not specific to our industry, and that's the problem here.
No.
It's specific to people. That's the problem. You know, I would imagine. Well, we already know about it in professional work environments, in politics, and everything like that. You know, about under representation of females and that. It is a human problem. It is obviously an industry problem too. Of course, it is. You know, because there are humans in the fucking industry, and wherever there are human beings involved, there are also going to be dickheads.
Yeah.
I wish there wasn't, and I'm not trying to make anything. You know, it's just such a. I wish there was like a fucking like click your finger sort of solution to this shit.
Yeah.
But what do you do? How do you stop people being dicks? I mean, they've been dicks since the birth of evolution. They're still dicks now today. They're always going to be dicks. I don't know. Other than criminalizing some of these fucking things, you know. Policing social media so that people who say shit like this actually get fucking, I don't know, arrested or whatever, you know, unless you get into that sort of stuff. I guess the thing, I'm not saying that I begrudge, I agree 100% of everything. I'm 100% on board. I wish I thought about it more. I don't sometimes, that's the truth about it. I don't. I get annoyed because people will say to me that, oh, you know, you haven't got long hair, you're not metal. You know, that sort of shit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But and then I don't think outside of that bubble, and that's my own fault, my own ignorance. You know, I'm not trying to be ignorant, and I'm trying to be better, but you know, sometimes I don't think outside of what you see. You know, but the problem for me is like, you know, that person, the promoter or the festival booker or the agent or whoever it may be, who says that line, you know, about, you know, if you had your tits out, you'd be headlining Download.
Yeah.
Or it might just be a fan or whatever else like that.
Yeah.
How do you stop that? Like genuinely. Is there any way to stop that other than eradicating the human race?
There's ways to not have it happen as often. Call that shit out. If you see it, like, call that shit out. And just...
That's an obvious thing. Yeah, you are right, Dan, in the sense that, like, for example, you're standing there with your buddy and he's going, oh yeah, and you're watching, I don't know, a woman vocalist, and all he's going on about is, oh yeah, I'd bang her, I'd do this and whatever, and you're like, dude, shut the fuck up, what's the matter with you? That kind of shit. Yes, Yeah, but we're not talking. You're potentially talking about. I think what Brendan's saying as well. What about scenarios where that's not available? That person just happens to be able to say.
I mean, I agree.
Here's
100%.
the thing: is likely that person who's saying that stuff is not doing it with an audience, is he? Likely to not be doing it with an audience.
I think what my point is like, yeah, absolutely, you can reduce it, and if you can, you should fucking do everything possible to. And calling out is definitely a good way, especially if you're with people or you're in a public environment. And this is about, like I said, I'm not trying to like make out like I'm fucking against any of this stuff. I'm not. But I've been going to gigs for 30 years, like plus. Whether it's my ignorance or my obliviousness to it, or just because of the fact that I don't know, hadn't thought of it, or I was too drunk or whatever, I can't actually remember an occasion where I've ever seen this. Or maybe we're just lucky that we're in circles of people that wouldn't do this, you know.
I think we're lucky. I think we are lucky. We've always surrounded with, obviously, predominantly our gigs for the last decade, maybe longer, has been family based. Me, you, Dan, our wives and friends and stuff like that. And the friends we move in particularly aren't these types of people either. So we've been very sheltered, bubbled by that. I can't think of many examples where I think the best way to look at this track as well was more than anything else, and I'm going to use a comparison here, and it's one that I think some people will get, you guys maybe not so much, but you'll understand it. Times change and times are changing, and what you do is you raise awareness and you say, hey, this isn't acceptable anymore, sort your shit out. We're seeing it a lot now with a lot of different elements in life, but I'm going to use a wrestling analogy. I grew up watching wrestling in the late 90s, early noughties, before I fell out of love with it. And during that period, women in wrestling would take part in matches like bra and panties matches, evening gown matches. They weren't having wrestling matches. They were there to be eye candy.
Oh, yeah. Can I interject? The name of, when you showed me wrestling for the first time, the name of the women's wrestling, I think it was called Divas.
Divas,
it wasn't even like women's wrestling.
To be fair, the Divas period is argumentable in the sense that they'd already moved away from the more sexualized stuff they were doing back in the late 90s, early noughties. However, contrast that to women's wrestling now. If any company, promotion attempted to try and put on a bra and panties match, they wouldn't be in business the next day. Like, that's how much that industry has changed.
And that is brilliant, and that is the shit that we could definitely do in metal, you know, from the agents, from the promoters, from the official people and all that. But don't tell me for 1 second that 10 or 2 or 20 fans in that crowd aren't trying to get a sneak peek of a nipple or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, the problem is that part is very fucking hard to manage.
It's
but
impossible
definitely,
to manage.
you know,
what it is I guess, trying to make
the world is full of
environment.
dicks, and there'll always be dicks.
And there always will be. That will never change. But I guess the hope is, and the drive is, you create an environment. Just like there are wrestling fans out there who desperately dream of having a bra and panties match and stuff like that these days. I guess the idea is you want to hope that the environment eventually is so toxic for that one or two people that they dare not even express that opinion. Just like in without going too much deeper, because I don't want to get too deep in this. Just like if you don't want to normalize racism, because you want that racist to feel like his life is in danger, his livelihood is in threat if he dares express his racist opinion, that kind of thing. That's the environment we want to create. And on this aspect, Fury bringing the highlight in an interesting way, a clever way, and in a good song way. I think it is going to cause conversations, and that's the point, right?
Yeah, and that's a good thing. It's made us talk about it, isn't it? So.
Yeah. I knew it'd be one of those. It's like me and Brendan doing an exclamation where we know it's a difficult conversation, and we know we're stepping in landmines left, right, and center while trying to express our honest opinions, while also trying to see almost every side to a degree.
Yeah.
Well, here it's not about sides. It's not about seeing another side. We're not trying to see the side of the guy that's a pervert. It's not, dude, sort it out, basically. Go home, watch some fucking porn. That's what it's there for, we can only hope. We're not going to be able to fix the world. We'll try and do our small little part, but you are talking to three dudes who are all family, who move in each other's circles. And I feel I can talk for those two. At least I can confirm that those two, Brendan and Dan, aren't dicks. Do you see what I mean? I can't obviously say that about myself.
All three of us right now will quite happily put a hand up and pledge that if I ever see this shit live, if I ever did, I would happily call this out. I'd be all over that.
No
You know,
question.
and if everybody else who listens to this stuff or feels the same does the same, then maybe that can make a dent in it. You know,
That's it. That's all you need to do. Do your bit, yeah? No one's asking you to go out there and change the world. Just do your little bit, yeah? Let us know what you think in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?